the SLC Sunday experience. We're so glad that you're here. We want you to know your soul is welcome here. We're going to sing about it. Right, Ann?
Yes, that's right. You're in the right place at the right time, just where you are meant to be, and it is April 2022. Let's sing about it. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. In the right place, I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. Your soul is welcome. All souls are welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I am meant to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. Oh, my soul is welcome. Oh, my soul. Oh, you know you're welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome. I'm getting the message. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. You know you got something to say, girl. My soul is welcome. Get it, get it, get it, get it. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome here. My soul is welcome. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Well, good morning, Reverend Deborah. Good to see you today.
Good morning, Reverend James,
Glad
and it's
that-
good to see you.
Glad you brought your soul and everyone else brought theirs.
That's a good thing.
Oh, yes.
We greet you this morning in the name of all that is good, all that is holy, and all that is sacred, and in the warm and loving energy of this community, Spiritual Life Center. Spiritual Life Center honors all people worshiping in mosques, temples, churches, stone circles, and of course, the beautiful temples of nature, because we know there is no place that God does not grace. If this is your very first time with us today, either online or with us in person, we especially want to welcome you because we know that you are not here by accident. Every single one of us is here by
Divine appointment.
And we're so glad that we're getting back together again. It's wonderful to see so many of you here. And of course, we're always excited and relieved when you silence your electronic devices, and please refrain from flash photography during the service. Thank you.
Well, let us keep that appointment that is always available to us as we connect with the presence of pure being. Recognizing that we're inseparable from this presence. And this presence contains all the qualities that are good and perfect. First of all, the love of God itself. The love of the force. That's what keeps us all together and is the wind beneath our wings at all times. And then we recognize all the other offsprings of this loving presence, the peace, the joy, the wisdom, the wholeness, the vitality, the vigor, the divine and perfect right action that we take when we lowly listen to the divine guidance that is available to and for us. And as we make this presence the activity of our consciousness, through the thoughts we have, the words we speak, the actions that we take, we begin to radiate from the depth of our being the truth of who and what we are, so that those who cross our path recognize that within themselves. And before you know it, we begin to spread this consciousness everywhere, or I should say at least ignite its representation and radiance of it, so that we begin to anchor a little bit more of heaven on earth, which is all good, the all God presence. For this and so much more, we're grateful and thankful as we go forth, expanding the all good in our life and in our world. Amen. Well, we have an important purpose here at Spiritual Life Center that is represented in our mission statement. And we invite us to collectively say it together. To transform lives as we love, serve, and remember. And we do so as we incorporate, embody, and live out these 5 universal principles to the best of our ability. And they are: God is absolute good and everywhere present. People are inherently good. Thoughts create our experiences. Prayer and meditation are how we connect with God. We must take action. Well, one of the things we've been doing between January and April is acknowledging the season for nonviolence. And each week we have someone from our community to share one of the principles and their perspective on it. And this week we have Brian Stafford, who's going to share with you our principle for this week, the last week of our season for nonviolence.
You didn't tell me it was the last week of the season.
You got the best.
I had to close it out.
Save the best for last.
Okay. Well, I'll just read from today. I delight in being me. I am your child, God. My every breath is your breath. You are in each beat of my heart. You are present as life in every cell of my body. This life I live is you living through me. There is nothing for me to fear, nothing that can disturb the peace of my soul. There is no place that I could ever go without you, that you would not be, loving me, guiding my footsteps, making my path straight. I have the peace of mind that comes from awareness of who I am, your beloved child, and who you are well pleased. Today, I delight in being me. I say, thank you, God. I commit to being centered in your peace, that I may be your peacemaker. Well, just to let you know, when I first read this, I just read it as words on paper. And then I looked through the website to see what the color of the day is. Found out that it was fuchsia and spring green. And as my wife has reminded me this morning, I've asked her like about 10 times, what is fuchsia? So I did look it up, but I always wonder, why can't we just say pink and green? That's just me. But anyway, while on the website, I noticed on the words of Reverend James, the YouTube with Dr. Maya Angelou. And so without giving everything away on the YouTube, if you guys haven't looked at it, she was told to read it again. So I read this statement again. Okay, and this is when I really felt that I, me, you, all of us, we have God within. And kind of the way I thought to summarize this is just by saying, we all utilize different sites to find out our ancestries, ancestries.com. We want to know where we came from. We want to know who our family members are. Basically, what's our bloodline? Where does that bloodline come from? And by finding out those things, this helps us to answer things such as why we are here, who we are. And so whether this phrase specifically is about you or not, most of us heard it. Someone does something positively, negatively, or just doing something, and a family member would normally say, "You're acting just like your mom used to act, or your dad used to act, or your grandma, or your brother, or your sister," but it's kind of there. And so by tracing back into our bloodlines, because of Ancestry.com, we want to go back and back and back because we want to better understand ourselves. When we trace back, we all end up at the same place, and that's God. You know, and as I stated from the first line of the reading, I am your child, God. And so basically when we are challenged, when we feel something great is going on, when there are things that we want to remember, we have to remember there is a source, there is a light. It's our greatest loving family member that we can always turn to in our ancestry, and we can all reach out to God.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian. And I just want to say thank you for the 19 people who have walked this journey with us the last, 10 weeks. One person did it twice, so that's why there's only 19 people. Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. And any April birthdays, we invite anyone who's April birthday to stand. April
birthdays,
April birthdays.
babies, stand up so we can wish you a happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh.
Happy birthday.
Oh, very good.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to ya.
Happy birthday!
And I want to thank Shirley Brown for the beautiful flowers on the altar today.
And we were talking about prayer a lot today in the early service particularly, but we're going to have our Unity Prayer Circle. It's going to resume on Thursday at noon. And that's the time that we come together for half an hour to read the Unity Prayer service together and offer personal prayers and support for those who happen to be part of it as well. So if you'd like to be, if you're around, want to come in and just join us for that, we invite you to do so.
And of course, we've been talking about Easter season a lot. And today we're just going to remind you that April 17th is Easter Sunday. We're going to be at Southside Park at 11 o'clock. There's only one service. What time are we coming?
11.
And how many services are there? Good. And be sure if you want to bring a comfy chair, we will have some chairs set up, but bring a comfy camp chair or something, and bring a picnic. And there will be an Easter egg hunt for the young people, and we're just going to have the opportunity to all be together at one service for Easter. I think it's going to be an amazing time. So you'll hear more about this next week, and of course you'll hear about the 2 special services that come before that.
And also, speaking of special services, we're going to get together on April the 20th and gather for Unity for Ukraine. It's going to be a prayer vigil that will be holding the high watch for Ukraine and Russia and the people, as well as anyone else that you pray with during that time. I always like to say when you're praying, it's not just limited to what we have in our own minds, but it spreads out to everyone, everywhere, for whatever thing that we're holding the prayer for. So we're working to make this a special evening, so save the date to come together to hold that high watch and consciousness for our world.
And I expect we'll have more details next week.
Yes, we will have more information.
So you have an opportunity to join the Quantum Living training that begins on April 23rd. Now, this is a 5-week training, and it's in person. And so you can sign up for that today, or you can go online, or you can go out to the hub. At the same time, know that there's also going to be a Zoom class in June, and we'll talk about that more later. Right now, we're just talking about this one that's in person. And, of course, Quantum Living is, well, it's sort of the basis for which what we talk from these days, isn't it, Reverend James?
Among other things, yes.
So,
Just to let you know that our community giving recipient for the month of April is Fly Brave. And it's an organization that creates employment opportunities for adults with autism who have aged out of the school system. And Vanessa Beaker, who's the president and founder of Fly Brave, was unable to be with us today. However, we do have a short video to give you some information about that program.
Hi everybody, I'm Vanessa, and this is my amazing son John. Say hi, John.
Oh, I know.
And we are the founder and co-founder of the Fly Brave Foundation, a 100% volunteer nonprofit organization in Sacramento, California. We serve individuals with autism and other developmental disabilities by providing free services, resources, and programs. We offer employment training, social and life skills, workshops, art classes, events, and fitness programs. John is nonverbal, but we live by the motto, nonverbal does not mean unable. John is a notable runner and has completed 5 marathons, 2 of them being the Boston Marathon. We started this program when he was aging out of school. At 22 years old, he aged out, and so we went on a journey in search of continued supports, employment training, and social connections. And coming up short, we took a leap of faith and we started our own. We started our program in our living room with 5 families, saved a little bit of money, and moved into the community center. On April 1st, 2021, 5 years later, we moved into our first brick and mortar location, the Fly Brave Emporium, also known as the Good Vibes Thrift Shop, as the banner says above the door. However, it's so much more than a thrift store. While it does provide employment training, half of the store is dedicated to young entrepreneurs with developmental disabilities to sell their works of art and creating extra revenue for themselves and learning how to manage their own business. They keep 100% of the proceeds. We are simply a platform to help them soar. Our goal is to help amazing individuals like my son John find their passion and turn it into purpose. Thank you so much for watching, and we appreciate your support. In love and kindness, your friends at Fly Brave.
Bye.
and of course, you can find all the happenings at SLC out in the courtyard and the bulletin board, or talking to the ladies at the hub.
At this time, those who are part of our chaplain program here this morning, and our board of trustee members who happen to be present, if they would stand. And the chaplains, of course, wear the white stoles. And so if you have something you'd like to have prayed for, they're there to hold that prayer consciousness with you, and they'll pray with you immediately after the service in the courtyard, or wherever you might want to have your prayer done. So thank the chaplains for their consciousness and holding the high watch for our community. And our board members do the very important work of just, again, holding the high watch and help us usher us forward as a community to make us the very best that we can be. They bring their time, their talent, their skills in so many different ways, and they make a great contribution to keep us moving forward. And we thank them, and If you have any questions that you want to ask, they're available to answer questions as well. Now, I don't know what answers you might get, but you're going to ask some questions.
And we'd love to greet our newcomers. In a moment, we will ask you to raise your hand and keep it up. But right now, we want you to know there are many ways to become connected at Spiritual Life Center. And you can do that by filling out the welcome card. Now, that welcome card is available online. So you can go to our website, fill out that card, and submit it, and we'll get back to you. Or if you're here on site, raise your hand. We will give you the card, fill it out.
Raise your hand. Any first-timers here this morning? Oh, yes, we had at least one up front here to my left, your right. So thank you for your presence here. And we're giving you the card and a ribbon. If you'd like to wear that, you get that special Spiritual Life Center greeting. We support you. We appreciate you. We thank you for your presence here today. And so at this time, we can greet anyone who's here.
Invite you to stay standing and join us in singing our group song by Richard Burdick today. So as we sing it, why don't we send some good loving energy down south? Holy God, move in me. Please join us in singing. Holy God. That you may know my faith, and I may know your grace. Holy God, move in me.
Please be seated.
Yes, so let's settle nicely into our chairs. Tune in with our hearts. Is a loving, vibrant family that welcomes home all people and accepts everyone, no exceptions. Weaving ancient spiritual traditions with emerging wisdom, we cultivate a spiritual deepening with the divine, each other, and our planet. And now, as we prepare for meditation, let's sing this beautiful chant.
There is no you. There is no me. There's only God that I can see. Please join us in singing. There is no you. There is no me. There's only God that I can see. There is no us. There is no them. There's only God. Amen. There is no us. There is no them. There's only God. Amen. There is no you. There is no me. There's only God that I can see. There is no you. There is no me. There's only God that I can see. There is no us. There is no them. There's only God. Amen. There is no us. There is no them. There's only God.
As we take time now to go within, relax into your breath, and let your shoulders drop on the next exhale, and let any tension drain from your body. Allow your natural breathing to take you deeper and deeper into relaxation, and allow yourself to drift into a light daydream. In this daydream, there's a very small circle on the ground right in front of you. And next to it is a brightly lettered sign that said, "Circle of Belonging. Step on in." The circle seems way too small, but as you touch your toe into the circle, it expands. And as you step in, it expands and you fit inside. The circle begins to glow soft pinks and white, and this light spirals up until you are encircled in a cylinder of pink-white light. You feel the energy of the circle pulsating through your being. It is warm, comforting, healing. Your heart opens and you think of people you would like to share this experience with. But you think, circle's too small. I mean, you've barely fit into this circle yourself. But then you remember that circle was just a small dot when you stepped into it. And now it contains all of you. So as an experiment, you think of two people you care about the most and invite them to step into the circle with you. Immediately, that circle expands to accommodate these two precious people. As the circle expands, so the light expands, encompassing all. And it gently pulses, sending waves of joy through each of you. And you are one in divine energy. And now you send an invitation to others, people you're not quite as close with, and you watch the circle expand to include every one of them. With each addition to the circle, the energies become more and more refined, and all differences dissolve. Your hearts join in communion with each other and with Spirit. You feel so connected and yet so free. And now you know that the next step is, as you take a breath and invite in anyone with whom you struggle. And as these people join you, the circle expands and all differences dissolve. Pink white light polished by the sun swirls around all of you in a dance of pure love. It waltzes through your minds, your bodies, your spirits. And now you open your heart and invite all people, all beings everywhere into your circle. And the circle of light expands in all directions, extending way beyond your vision, encompassing all. You are united in love and compassion. Within this circle, there is complete acceptance. You belong here. All of you belong here. Immerse yourself in this belonging, in the silence. You did not have to work to fit into the circle. It simply accepted you as you are. It accepted all the beings you invited in. There is no division, no separateness. You feel connected and content. As you take a breath and begin your journey back to your body, please receive this blessing. Oh, my beloved, separation is an illusion. There is one power, one presence from which everything and everyone emanates. All sense of division dissolves when you look at one another and say, in oneness we are strong. In oneness we belong. In oneness we can be. In oneness you are me. Remember this always.
If I had one wish, then what would it be? For each man and woman to live life in peace, to live without fear in a world that's secure. Some say it's a fool's dream, but I'm not so sure. I see all your faces on my TV, driven and hungry with eyes full of tears. Mourning your children, fathers and friends, caught in a war that just never ends. How long will it be till your life is mine, and all I believed in has turned into lies? With all that I am and all that I have, I send you this token, this love from my heart. Oh, I've seen a place much more than a dream, a place of such beauty it hurts just to see. A place of no pain, no crying, no war, where peace is the treasure that has been restored. If I had one wish, it would be this. It would be this.
Thank you, Ann, and all our music team. If I had one wish, it would be this. It says, to live without fear in a world that's secure. Some say it's a fool's dream, but I'm not so sure. Earlier this week, I received an email about an upcoming seminar that's going to be online. And the title of the seminar was Women Rising. Now, I don't know why they sent it to me. Maybe because at that time I was singing You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman by Aretha Franklin. I don't know. But what was written in that email resonated with me, at least the message about what it was about, and something that I had been thinking about. It said, in essence, that sometimes it feels like we're living in two worlds. One world seems, at least on the surface, to be falling apart. Another feels like something new is seeking to emerge. And we are here to serve as midwives to help release that which no longer serves us. And at the same time, to help birth something that is seeking to be born anew. Probably what we're releasing are those matters that sometimes have us on the brink of what appears to be, at least to the human mind, disaster. Because it comes from a consciousness and a belief in fear, or at least an energy of fear, while ushering in a world that will possibly pull us from that brink and break us free from what appears to be, at least to our human perspective, a disaster based upon the power of love. And this is what moves us in that direction. And of course, as we mentioned, I think last month, we were saying that love is that energy, that presence that binds us all together. And it seems like anything but a sense of togetherness at times is actually what's happening. I wrote in my blog earlier this week that America and the world face seemingly more polarization than ever. And I said, well, maybe it just seems that way because of the internet, because of social media, because of the technology of today. Information as well as misinformation spreads faster and broader now more than ever. Bringing to mind that statement that says that a lie will go around the world twice before the truth has a chance to put his pants on. So we can see that there's polarization in our politics. There's polarizations about what history should or should not be taught in public schools, what books should be chosen. Should it be done by the politicians or the educators? Divisions over what to do, or should we do anything about our environment? With one group siding with what appear to be trained experts who believe that we're in an ecological emergency. And others who believe that the climate change talk is overblown or an outright fabrication ginned up by climate alarmists. Sometimes the chasm seems to be so wide that one wonders if it's possible to even close the gap. Because we read data, for example, that says there's an ever-widening income divide in America and other countries, as well as between countries, that some social scientists believe harms the well-being of our societies as a whole. After all, some people say, I've got mine. And whether you get yours, well, that's on you. So it ain't just a few of the polarizing issues that can go on and on and on, and I didn't bring up anything about the Oscars. That's a whole different program. We have so many other things to worry about that we'll focus on that. Like I said, it's debatable if polarization is greater now or not, or whether it just seems that way. But regardless of what we believe, I believe like never before we live in an amazing era. An amazing era not only in this country, but also on the planet in which we live. Because more and more we get to decide whether to be at the effect of the drama of all of this, or whether or not we want to contribute to the transformation of that drama that is taking place at the time to help direct the path that humanity will take based upon the thoughts that we have, the words that we speak, the actions that we take. Because that begins to set the direction. Because we can either contribute to the backslide or to the betterment of our world. The choice is always ours. Well, we mentioned we had some readings today to close out the season for nonviolence to honor the work of Dr. Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi. And Dr. King was one of those individuals that we acknowledged during this season of nonviolence who made a contribution for the betterment of our humanity. It's actually 54 years ago tomorrow. Martin Luther King was assassinated, and like I said, that represents the ending date of the season for nonviolence because that was the anniversary of his death. It's interesting that I remember where I was and what I was doing, even though I didn't really fully understand, his philosophy. I was at school at the time, and I was waiting, outside on the street for one of my classmates to come over with his car to take us to an event. And I realized as I look back that Dr. King made a decision to contribute to help in the transformation of one of the most polarizing issues of his day that still reverberates in our society and our world. But he made a conscious decision to uplift the state of our being. And he did so in order to uplift the state of the world. Both Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi recognized each of us has the infinite potential to help heal our wounded and sometimes polarized world. This past Thursday night, I went to the Madavi Center at Davis and to see a dialogue between Ibram Kendi, and he wrote the book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and he was having a dialogue with the dean of one of the schools there. And one of the things that he talked about were the events that took place or had been taking place in the world that had shaped his beliefs about himself, most importantly. But when he said it, it reminded me at a young age, that impressionable age myself, when I was about 12 years old, my family was moving from New York to Florida. And of course, we drove down during the Deep South. And this was right after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And there still remained the remembrance or the reminders of the discrimination in the forms of signs that designated there were separate bathrooms and water fountains for blacks and whites. Sometimes I talk to my son and I realize that some people have to look that up on the Google. And I realized that I've been around for a while that I don't need to look it up on Google. But it created an indelible imprint on my own mind as I thought about it and the impression upon me at a very early age in my life. And then I look back and realize that humanity had sometimes created self-imposed boxes and sense of limitation and separation. And I understood on some way or shape or form that sometimes folks treat others as objects and less than the rest of humanity. And when we do, we deny our world the God-given gifts all of us have to offer. And I recognize that way of being may have necessitated the passage of laws in order to try to change that. But here's the thing. I've come more and more to realize that it is important to make the case for spiritual values to help resolve not only that particular issue, but any polarizing issue of our day. Because it seems to be maybe a conscious or maybe an unconscious buy-in and a belief in separation, which is not a spiritual value. As spiritual beings, all of our endeavors ought to be governed by our spiritual essence, by the spiritual movement through and as us. Mahatma Gandhi reminds us that there should not be any separation between any of our endeavors and spiritual principle. And of course, he was not talking about religiosity. He was not talking about rules or doctrines or dogmas in any way, shape, or form that leads to an I'm right, you're wrong kind of way of seeing the world. So often people try to separate what they do from their religion, from their beliefs, but what they do is their religion. What they do is what they believe. And how we treat people and how we move through the world is what we believe. So to rise above polarization, we must reach back and maybe even reach in at times to the indigenous cultures that spans thousands of years, where the movement of God was never separated from any walk of life. We must realize, and I believe live out our oneness and declare that if God is for us and God is for us, there can never be anything against us. Yes, if we look at the world around, we may ask, well, if God is everywhere present, and God is everywhere present, if God is everywhere present at every point in space and time, all at the same time, why does there seem to be a sense of polarization? Maybe it's because we're looking at, but it's kind of in our faces at times. So much of an us versus them that seems to exist. But here's the deal. When we see things rightly, we accept, I think, on a very profound level, very deep level, that everything indeed is working together for our good. And if we begin to accept that, then in truth, we realize that there is no duality because we live in a universe. There is only oneness that appears sometimes as two-ness in order for there to be movement of thought, in order for things to move forward. It simulates movement. And I believe that's what's happening. That the only reason that there are seemingly polarities of opposites in this three-dimensional world, I know I'm getting philosophical today, but that's where I'm at. So there's movement. Whenever you have two seeming opposites and place them together, something moves in our visible world. But we understand that God's thought is complete. And as we move through this physical world, sometimes there's pairs of opposites to simulate motion, to make motion take place. So there's really no duality. There is no otherness. There is no otherness. There is only God. There is only one power. There is only that. And an infinite power that is everywhere present cannot have an opposite. It cannot have something else. And if God is everywhere, totally and completely, everywhere in his fullness, there can be nothing else. So when we convince ourselves of that truth, we begin to operate from that truth, we will have nothing to resist because we will stop creating it. We'll stop creating it. The issues, the polarized issues, those things that humanity has created, those things won't be there. We can only say, only God is here. And our affirmation when we say, I'm divinely supported, maintained, and sustained by the presence and the power and the love of God itself. And so we're staying in tune with the Spirit of the living God because one with this presence. One with this presence. That's all of our work is all about, to reunite, remember our oneness with his presence. And when we're one with this presence, that isn't majority consciousness. We heard Deborah talk about the quantum living classes and program, which I think, among other things, is to recondition, I don't know if recondition or to kind of help us relook at things, at life and experiences, to the point that we can see that there's nothing and no one against us in a grand sense. And when we see from that perspective, we see that when there's a so-called enemy, that person may be just a friend in disguise. And I think Dr. King knew this when he was advancing the cause of civil rights. His movement was resisted by the sheriff named Bull Connor. And Bull Connor sicked dogs and ordered vicious attacks on peaceful protesters, including young children at that time. And he was using the dogs and powerful hoses against those individuals. And he was asking an interesting question. And he was asked, did you consider Bull Connor to be an evil enemy? And he said no. because I needed Bull Connor to help fulfill my purpose and advance my cause. Today, I think we're living in a time of accelerated change, socially, technologically, politically. There's upheaval not only on so many levels in this country, but across the globe. This change signals there's a sizable paradigm shift afoot. And despite appearances, there is a good reason to believe that we're moving from one stage of being to a more evolved one. And we can create the results we want for our communities, for our country, and ultimately our world, despite the seeming resistance, despite the seeming polarities. Because we recognize that the polarities, the resistance, is part of the process. I often mention Dr. Emily Cady, who wrote the classic Lessons in Truth. And she called this whole thing chemicalization. I mentioned in the earlier service that, when they had those books printed, they actually at one time took chemicalization out of the whole book because it appeared too negative. And then they put it back in because they knew it was real. Chemicalization is when there's a clash between an old idea and an emerging paradigm. Sometimes there are events in the outside that serve as evolutionary triggers to stir things up and to accelerate the manifestation of the higher state of our awareness. The evolutionary triggers wake us up to move through the process of evolution and to move it along more quickly. Now, Dr. King said something important. He said, we talked about peace. He said, peace will not come on the wheels of inevitability. He says it's not just going to happen. We have to begin to set our intentions and our actions in that direction because we're not automatons, we're not robots, we have choice. And I think that the most important ingredient to assure transformational success is the energy of love itself. Co-founder Charles Fillmore, I quote from time to time, he said that love is the pure essence of the universe that harmoniously binds together the whole human family. And if we are to rise above the divisiveness of us versus them, that consciousness that sometimes appears so pervasive is necessary. That principle must underlie everything. I believe that our world is in need of individuals who are willing to be of service to the grand spiritual idea and the energy of love itself. Sometimes we see the news reports of today, we see the trials, the tribulations in this world, and the beliefs in duality leading a tit for tat. I'll do this, and then that person said, well, I'll do that in response. We see that consciousness. But you also see people standing up for the love consciousness, and they say, I'm not going to give in to the hate. I'm not going to give in to the malice. I'm not going to give in to the resentment. You can call me crazy if you want. I just happen to think that everybody is their brother and their sister. In the New Living Translation of the Hebrew Bible, in the book of Isaiah, the 11th chapter, and the 6th verse, it says that in the day of the wolf and the lamb will live together. The leopard will lie down with the baby goat. The calf and the yearling will be safe with the lion, and the little child will lead them all. Somebody asked me, does that mean that everybody and everything is going to become vegetarians? I said, no, not really. I think metaphysically it just simply means that we're here to recognize that we are part of one human spiritual family, charged to live out as well as live from our oneness. And oneness also includes the recognition that whatever goes on within us is inherently connected to what goes on in the material world. That's why we say we work on ourselves first and foremost, because it's out picturing in our world. And we start by seeing the vision or the result we want to achieve before we manifest that vision. It has to be first within, then without. and how we get there really matters. You know, I mentioned the American author and architect, inventor, philosopher, I guess futurist, Renaissance man, I guess you would call him. Buckminster Fuller said something to the effect, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, you have to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. It is incumbent upon our generation to imagine, to articulate, and to build the different world we want to see. The spiritual foundation that we operate from is most important. If we don't start with the spiritual foundation, we will build a new model on sand rather than rock, and it will not last. We must begin with the spiritual principles to create that new, evolved, and different world, and not solely depend upon outer laws and the mechanical policies which are necessary. But underneath that, we have to have the spiritual principle of oneness. When we see and operate from the lens of oneness and that realization that everyone and everything is interconnected, then we will never set up models that will harm another individual or to harm the planet in which we live. Nor will we create a separate categories or boxes and see a reality of an us versus them game. We'll begin to realize it is always us. And whatever we do to another or to the planet, we directly or indirectly do to ourselves. So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to create the models we want to see from the principles of this oneness, from these principles of interconnectedness. And as we do, we can rise above the illusion of separation, rise above the permanent, seemingly polarizations, and that one wish will be fulfilled. Peace and blessings to you. Well, next week, Reverend Deborah is going to be speaking on Palm Sunday, and her talk will be on the triumphant entry. I'll be away next week. My son is in a national championship mock trial tournament. Then I'm going to see my mom, who's like in her 90s, and I want to make as many visits as I can. So I'll be there with her. So we'll be having that by Reverend Deborah next week. And at this moment, I invite those who are online or watching at any time to support this community who's seeking to spread this awareness and consciousness of possibilities of who we can be when we're at our highest and best. And you can give your gift or your love offering by texting SLC Love to 44321. That's SLC Love to 44321. Or go to our website, slcworld.org, and you can give in other ways, including by mail. Just click the Donate tab, and you'll get other ways in which you can give, including sending a check if that is a preferable way for you to support this work. With that, I invite those who are present today to take their gift and their love offering and symbolically raise it to the heavens or ever-expanding good. And if you've given already by mail or electronically through giving on a regular basis, just know that you're in the flow of a magnificent principle that says you can never outgive the presence of God, and whatever you give out comes back to you in so many different ways. And so with that, let us affirm our offertory blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. Thank you, God.
Before we play our last song, I would like to have us welcome a newcomer on the scene. This is Alex Catlett on the bass today. All right, got a little Faith Rivera for you here.
The clock goes tick-tock, your heart beats hip-hop. You know there's something great leader you're called to be. You shut tight your eyes and breathe in deeper. You slowly open your eyes, take in the moment. As all your sights on all the possibilities, you're a little shaken at the dream you're making real. Every step and every turn has led you to this place. Everything and everyone's a gift to lift you to higher space. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The world is waiting for you right on your once in a universe superstar. Oh, the world is waiting for you. Get your groove on, you trailblazing wonder that you are. You are the difference this very instant. Now time to stand up for Team Humanity. You can't wait much longer, no. The fight grows stronger every day. Everywhere around the world, do-gooders rising up. Hey, what if I told you you're the one to bring us to greater love? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, the world is waiting for you right on your once in a universe superstar. Get your groove on, you trailblazing wonder that you are. I know who you are. This love's feeling wrong, but we can love it right. The path of peace is long, but baby, worth the fight. I put my faith in you. I know you can inspire the way that you do, like only you can. Right on your once in a universe superstar. Get your groove on, you trailblazing wonder that you are. The world is waiting for you and 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 you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bright shining healer that you are. Oh, my beloved superstar.
The world is waiting for you and me. We take this moment to give thanks for those who have supported our community with their giving, knowing they're in the flow of the divine, of the Spirit of the living God. You know, at this time, we also bring to our awareness those who have left prayers in the prayer box. And we bring into this energy of prayer the healing that our community may need for those who have, I think, died in that shooting at the downtown club that took place, I think, last night. My son sent me a message that he had been there many times himself. And Ronnie reminded me this morning of what had happened. So we send that divine energy to them as well, to the families, and to the consciousness that needs healing so that this will never happen again. And for those who have left those prayers, know that the healing energy is with them, that the divine has a divine and perfect answer for them as we all go through our challenges along the way in this thing called life. But there's always a perfect solution. There's always an answer. There's always a lesson. And as we remain open and receptive to that lesson, it is revealed to and as us. For this is the nature of the Spirit of God that only knows those solutions and answers and is supporting us along the way for our own personal and spiritual growth. So for this and so much more, we're grateful and thankful to be the vessels, the vehicles, and the recipients of this presence so that we can create the world that we see when we are at our highest and our best. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. And with that, let us join together as we affirm our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, I am, and all is well. Now our peace song.